Welcome to BAPS Better Living, conversations with Swamis from the BAPS Swaminarayan Sanstha. Today, we have an opportunity to hear from Pujya Priyasevadas Swami from the BAPS Sri Swaminarayan Mandir in Chicago. He will be speaking to us on the 4 Purusharthas, the 4 aims and goals of human life. In this 3-part series, he will outline the purpose of life, how to find balance in life, and the quest for liberation or moksha. Pujya Priyasevadas Swami.
Once the Pujya Swamis asked a young child what he would like to be when he grew up. Now the question was a simple one that has probably been asked many times. And most of the time, the answers are also predictable. Usually children smile wide and share their future dreams. I want to be a doctor, an astronaut, an athlete, or maybe even a famous celebrity. But instead, this child replied, I want to be an Uber driver. So when I heard this, it got me thinking, should we have a purpose in life? Why not just live life and see where it takes us? Then I thought to myself, let's take the perspective of maybe an individual that has probably lived most of his life. Instead of seeing what his hopes for the future were, we could ask him about his past, how he would like to be remembered. So there's a story from about 100 years ago of a man who was reading the morning newspaper, and to his surprise and horror, he read his name in the obituary section. By mistake, the newspaper had reported the death of the wrong person. His first response was shock. He had to think, am I here or there? Am I dead or alive? Then, when he regained his composure, his second thought was, let's find out what people who imagined that I was dead said about myself. The obituary proclaimed, Dynamite King dies, also called him the Merchant of Death. Now, this man, who actually invented the dynamite, upon reading Merchant of Death, began to think to himself, is this how I am going to be remembered? He decided then and there that this was not the way he wanted to be remembered. So from that day on, he made the decision to start working towards peace. His name was Alfred Nobel, and today he is remembered as the creator of the Nobel Prize Awards. Those awards are considered the most prestigious awards available today in their respective fields, with the most prominent of all being the Nobel Peace Prize. And like Alfred Nobel, if we want to make the most of our lives, then it is apparent that we need to have a clear sense of purpose. So maybe the question is not, do we need a purpose? Rather, the question is, what should that purpose be? We have only one life to live, and we do not want it to be an experiment. We see that trial and error, experimentation, and failure are things that we can learn from at times. For example, you could fail in business 3 or 4 times, but learn from those failures and still be successful. But there are certain things we cannot afford to fail in. It would not be wise for a surgeon to say that, hey, let's figure it out while he performs surgery. In that way, we cannot afford failure in identifying our purpose. Sometimes there are events in life that make us pause and force us to try to find our purpose. Other times, we ourselves realize that we have been focusing on the wrong purpose. Dr. Stephen Berglis, in his book, Reclaiming the Fire, he gives some insights in some of the challenges we come across when we are trying to define our purpose or when our purpose is not clear. He gives examples of individuals that are perceived to be very successful. He shares the stories of athletes, businessmen, and celebrities. When they're at the height of their career, they have fame and fortune, they realize that there's something missing. They started to question their career path. They started to ponder their purpose in life. One such example is of Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's shocking announcement in 1993 to retire. He was in top physical condition, had just won 3 championships back to back to back, and was widely considered to be the greatest athlete in the world. But examining his life closely, we can see that he just lost his father, the media was scrutinizing his gambling habits, and there was an intense pressure for him to continue to be successful. Stephen Berglis explains the reason for his retirement as supernova burnout. He defines supernova burnout as a psychological disorder, one that results when a competent person who is successful in a professional arena experiences a state of chronic distress or depression, which is attributed from the belief that he is trapped in a job or career path from which he can neither escape or derive gratification. We don't really know why Michael Jordan took a break in his basketball career, but it was evident he needed time to really figure out his purpose in life, to figure out what really drove him in his career. Eventually, Michael Jordan was able to address his supernova burnout, returning back to basketball and achieving success once again. Another individual, George Eastman. He was a co-founder of the Eastman Kodak Company. He spent his whole life developing a billion-dollar company. It was his pride and passion. But in the end, he committed suicide. And his suicide note he wrote, "My work is done, why wait?" Dr. Stephen Berglas wrote an article on this subject. And after writing the article, he noted that many entrepreneurs wrote him back, stating that they could identify with George Eastman's feelings. The feeling that when their work that drove them to their goal was over, there was emptiness. So what happens when you have achieved your purpose? If you do not derive any joy or gratification, you feel lost. Then was the purpose that drove you the right purpose in your life? You see, realizing your purpose in life is not easy. We have purposes that drive our happiness, our success, purposes that define fulfillment, and purposes that are based on our responsibility and circumstances. No matter what that purpose is, once we identify it, we really work hard to achieve our goal. We give it our all and make sacrifice to attain it, only to realize that yes, we had been running hard and fast, but was on the wrong road. Therefore, it is important to have a defined purpose, but it is not easy as we think it is, like we see on the television when an individual goes to meet an old sage meditating in the Himalayas and asks, "What's the meaning of the life?" The sage gives him the answer in one sentence. We want the answer to be simple, just one word, one sentence. But the truth is that life is complicated, and everyone's circumstances are unique. And so, how can we define our overall purpose to one's life? The Hindu Shastras provide some insight. The Mahabharata speaks of 4 Purusharthas, of the 4 goals of human life, namely Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. These Purusharthas are the major forces at play in shaping our day-to-day lives, they guiding us on the path of a meaningful life. So we'll learn more about these 4 purposes, or the 4 Purusharthas, in our upcoming talks.